What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Brand Builder TV, where we want to share with you how to rise above the noise in your industry in 2020, not 2004. So I am excited. This gentleman here was referred to our show from another guest, so I'm always pumped when that happens. That means we must be doing something right there. There has to be some sort of mojo energy going on for that to happen. So Phillip Andrew Barb, give us that 30,000 foot view of who you are, and then we're gonna chunk that down, baby.
Totally, man. So, I laugh when you say the 2000 version or the 2020 version. Like, this is the new quarantine beard for me, man. Like, I've been excited for this because this is the first appearance of the beard. If you look at any of my old stuff, all of it is very like clean, clean cut, talking to the middle school class, keeping it sharp. And I let it go, man. But so I'm based in Los Angeles, California. I'm a Emmy-nominated TV producer. That's kind of the main thing. The past decade, I've been working as a TV producer, but I also do personal development coaching. Wrote a book called All the Reasons I Hate My 28-Year-Old Boss, which came out in 2019, right? I'm all confused now. Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And then, the one thing I'll say about this is I love connecting with new people, just the same way you did. And I love the fact of, when I started doing a lot of podcasts and I started talking and, you go on these things and you got all your notes and you're like, oh, I want to hit this point. I want to hit this. I don't care about talking points anymore, man. I just want to sit here, have a good conversation with you. If it works out, awesome. If we have some good content, fantastic. And hopefully it helps some people out there. Other than that, it's just hanging out, man. I think people, we're so sick and tired of being sold to and being, and getting the branded version of I'm just a dude in my apartment in LA that probably should shave my beard, but I'm not going to do it. That's who I am.
Leave that beard, big man. Leave that beard. You know what? That is exactly what you just said, exactly what I want. I love to be able to convey every opportunity I can. And that's what I mean about branding and marketing 2004 versus 2020.
Yeah.
2020, they want to see the camera drop off the shelf. They want to see you stumble and fall and figure out how to laugh at that stumble and fall and get back up, because that's where we're at in today's world, right? Think about this. Two business associates of mine that have multi-million-dollar companies both said they don't look at resumes. They look at your social media when they want to hire, right? We're in a different world, and social media and the internet took it to a whole nother direction and a whole nother level, which I'm so blessed about, because anytime someone wants to put me in a box, I close off.
Yeah,
it's not my thing. It's not my DNA. That's why that's why they kicked me out of high school, right?
Totally.
And don't belong here.
The cool thing now, which is either going to make or break a lot of people, is exactly what you said, right? The resume, the difference between who you're trying to showcase who you are versus now we are going into a stage where a lot of people are no longer going to be hitting offices. They're no longer going to be going into offices. They're not going to be getting the one-on-one time to meet and to give their best presentation. It's going to be online. Like, now is going to be the time where, like, if you are a savvy online networker, you're going to crush. If that's been an issue, if you've been that person that's like, oh, I don't want to put anything out of me and keep it separate and I'll keep my page locked away, it's not going to get hired. For me as a TV producer, I'm in the Producers Guild of America, and a lot of times we'll have meetings where we'll talk about networking and what works for people. And there is this shift. I'm 34 years old currently, and there is this shift where a lot of times some of the people that I work with that are a little bit older than me, they just never saw social media as a resource of getting work. Whereas I look at it, it's a way for me to be front of mind, keep putting content out. People are seeing me. They're seeing the photos. They're seeing me. If they're seeing me and I'm popping up, then when I hit them up in 6 months and I need work, right? Or whatever it ends up being, where it just, that way you don't feel like you came out of nowhere. So now is really the time. And look, I think a lot of times people get nervous with change, right? They feel like they need to completely reinvent the wheel. You don't. There's still some things that work, right? I was joking before I jumped on, I looked at, some of your past guests, right? Everyone's got the damn books behind them, right? It makes us all feel like we're smart. Hey, look, I'm a guy who can read. Look at all those books back there. And so you see these things that work, and people do it. We set things up, and there's certain elements of branding that are always going to be, they're human nature and they're part of who we are. But there are some changes that are coming, and people need to stay on top of it, or you're gonna get left in 2019.
You're gonna disappear, right? You're gonna evolve. I always say this is the evolution train is leaving with or without you. The question is, are you getting on or are you getting run over?
Totally.
That's the question, right? And understanding and embracing. And then here's the other thing too is, and I'm a big fan of this, and I'd love for you to go deeper on this, is also at the same time, right, is also understanding who you are. What are your strengths so you can enhance your weaknesses, right? I always want to enhance my weaknesses, and there's plenty of them, with the people and the processes, so I can triple down on my strengths, right? So if you're not that video person, if you're not that selfie person in your DNA, or that IG story person in your IGA, then either find somebody that you can connect with, that's going to help you with your brand, or look at other avenues, right? So I wrote a book back in 2016. When I say I wrote a book, I never wrote one word of this, right? I went to my publisher and I said, Kelly, I want to write a book with you, but here's the problem. I'd rather a root canal done than write a chapter. And she laughed, right? I audioed my book to her.
Yep.
She typed it up, right? So understanding who you are and figuring out how to reverse engineer that. Talk about that, man.
Totally. I think you got to look at what your competitive advantage is in a lot of ways. Is figuring out what do you do well and leaning into it, and understanding, like, we all have limitations. We all have things that we're not fantastic at, and that's fine, right? Like if you're perfect at all of it, you're probably not listening to this podcast right now. You're off, crushing. You're on your yacht somewhere. You don't care about what we have to say. But I think what you're kind of getting at is you got to know who you are, and you got to know your story. What makes you unique? What are you bringing to the table, right? Like at the end of the day, we're all little kids looking for shiny things to, it's the new ball. It's this, it's, oh, what's that over there? We just want to get things that capture our attention. So when we keep that in mind, right? Like if we're trying to fit ourselves into a Gary V box, or if I'm trying to watch, I saw you had David, you've had David Meltzer on, and I've talked with him before. He's a great dude. But like, if I'm trying to do that box, if you're trying to be somebody else, you're always going to come up short, right? And we could steal from people that inspire us, and totally, right? Like, we're not going to completely reinvent this whole thing. But there is time where you just got to look at, like, who am I? What am I good at? Like, the truth is, I shouldn't have wrote a book, right? Like, I'm a better talker, right? I'm better on camera. Like, I shouldn't have wrote a book. Like, I have times where I'm like, I don't need to be sending emails. I need to be getting on the phone because I can talk, right? Let somebody that doesn't have that natural, like, let someone who's a wordsmith, you type it, let them send the damn good email. You get on the phone if you're a talker. Get on video if you're on video. So it's like leaning into what is your competitive advantage. And I think that that's something that's really solid. And it's also understanding, like, obviously we're talking very generally because everyone is in different industries, but it's like, it's knowing who you are and knowing what your story is. And I think that our story ends up, right, like it's the very 2018, 2019, 2020 thing. You got to know your story. Your story is the brand, and blah, blah. And it's true. It's true. Like, if you've got a story, it's what helps hook people in. It's like when people talk about Dave Daley, they go, oh, dude, that dude, he's big, he's all muscle, and he's out there, and he's yelling, he's energetic, but he's got a heart. That's it. Like, you nailed it. Like, that's who people think of when they think of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's because you've owned your story. You owned who you are. You didn't go out there. And I think this is a problem a lot of us all have when we start. And I promise I'll stop talking in a second. We start things and we go, well, what I have can help everyone. I want to help everybody, right? I want to inspire housewives, and I want to inspire high school kids, and I want to inspire, you know, Barack Obama and Trump. I want to bring them together and peace, love it, right? And we want to do that, and it's all good and fun. But the truth is, you're not going to be everybody's person.
No.
You know, there's going to be people that look at you and immediately go, nope. I don't want to hear from Captain Fitness guy. I don't want to hear from the dude that hits weights. I don't want to be yelled at. Not my dude. And the second that as we can realize who we are, who we want to talk to, and then also who wants to talk to us, who connects with us, we can start to build that brand so much more solid rather than trying to ride the fence of like, everyone's going to love me. Everyone, I want 9,000,000 followers. It's a word. 9,000, whatever.
That's right. You know, I always say, look, if I'm everyone's cup of tea, I'm switching to coffee.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, you're just not being authentic. You're not being real. And if there's ever a time in the history of human beings, this is the time where you need to be. If you're not real, you're going to be shown. People are going to see, right? Because of we live under this microscope, right? And So your film world, how did you get involved in the film world? How did you wind up doing what you're doing? Are you originally from LA?
No, so I'm actually, born and raised from Detroit.
Okay.
So born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, grew up about 10 minutes from downtown Detroit. Kind of grew up that very stereotypical, I got to look into the camera because I'm over here staring at myself and looking at you, you know, I got to look at the camera. But no, you know, it's, you know, very stereotypical Midwest kid that was just like in love with all things entertainment, all things LA, right? Like no shame in the game, man. I was totally that guy that was like, oh man, I'm going to like move out to LA and be a producer or director and get into all the film. And like, I'll be in the parties and all, right? Like, I was that kid. I wanted to be Stifler, like the worst way in the world. Right. You know? You know, for me, I kind of, once I graduated, I went to Michigan State University, finished up at Michigan State, and then made my way out to California. And I, you know, had never been west of Wisconsin before, had no idea really what I was getting myself into. And it was one of those things where, you know, I kind of believed in myself at least enough to where I wanted to get out there. I knew I enjoyed entertainment. It was 2009. So it was right in the middle of like, there was a writer's strike. There was the 2008 market crash. So it was like, you know, things were not good in Detroit. So it's like, if I'm going to struggle, man, I'm going to go struggle in Los Angeles by the beach, you know, whatever. And I think, you know, it was one of those things where I got out there and it was trying to get into the industry. Didn't really know anyone. I, you know, kind of go to networking events. You know, I'd go door to door at production companies. And I was like, if I could just see them, right? Because I knew my competitive advantage. And I didn't know it was a competitive advantage back then, right? Like I was 22. I didn't care. I didn't know anything. But I knew if I could just get in front of them, if I could just show my passion for it. I don't have experience, you know, but like if I could just show the passion that I have. And I think for us as a takeaway, right? Sometimes it's not, you know, we get so caught up in wanting to read every book about how to do something and like the actual little steps. And while that's important, it's also like, how are you being as you're doing it? How excited are you doing? I love one of my favorite guys is Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher. And ET talks about, he's like, yo, all we've been doing is free videos online. He's like, that's not what we blew up. We blew up because of the way we do it. The way we do it is what blew up. A lot of people doing free videos online, but the way we did it, the passion we brought, that's what helped us over the edge. And I knew that at least, you know, subconsciously as a kid, that like, if I could just get in front of them and sell myself, and it didn't work. And I was going to production companies and no one would hire me. And then I'd go to the gym, I'd go play basketball, and I'd rinse and repeat. And I was working at a vitamin store. Right, man. As I'm telling this story, I realize how much of a bro I am. Such a frat kid. And but so I'm like working at a vitamin store, working at a PacSun, selling, you know, old women Metamucil and folding little kids' board shorts. It was like the worst, right? And I'm calling my dad all the time, like, oh, I don't think anyone's gonna hire me. What did I do? Why am I out here? Rinse and repeat. Kept doing it, even when I wasn't sure what. I just kept doing it, staying in the work, staying in the process. Met a kid playing basketball. And we were talking trash back and forth, Midwest kid, playing ball, had the game of my life. He brought me in for an interview on a show called Undercover Boss, which then blew up on CBS.
Yeah.
That same guy is now, I mean, he was one of the dedications in my book. I'm working with the guy currently to this day. He's the CEO of the company that I work at now as we're creating shows together. He actually, as I was getting ready to jump on this podcast, he called me and I had to decline the call. Like, so we're that tight still 11 years down the line. And it's, you know, that's one of the things I always talk to, especially with like younger kids. When I go and talk to the high school kids or the college kids, it's like, you can't connect these dots looking forward, man. Yeah. You can't. All we can do, and I think this goes back to being authentic. Be you, be real, be who you are and know what you're going for. You don't have to have everything figured out, but just make a decision on who you're going to be and how you're going to treat people and what type of way you want to go into the world and do things, and stay consistent. And then you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find your business. You're going to find the right people that you can take your product to, or the industry that you're going to be in. There's a lot of people out there that probably think I'm a frat boy douche, or they don't want to work with Phil, or he's whatever. But like my people that know me and they know where my heart is and they know how I, you know, we love each other and we keep working together. And it's like, that's what it is. When you try to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to everybody.
100%, man. And I always say, let the universe do all the heavy lifting, right? You just keep that pure intention and just keep moving forward like you did. And you didn't know that you were going to connect that major dot on the basketball court, right?
Totally.
And one of the reasons that you did, for people that don't understand it, is you were in the basketball court, just like for me, the weight room, I'm in my flow.
Yes.
I'm in my zone.
Yes.
Yeah. You're
in
right?
flow.
Yeah.
And you can't fake that.
No.
You can't. And you can't fake the man or woman you are when you're in flow. You can't fake it.
No. And when you're in that flow, everything starts to flow, right? Yep. And then it becomes that ultimate inner power, which is that knowing. You know, when you're flowing, you're knowing. When you're knowing, you're flowing, man. And it's just like watching the waves crash, right? The ebb and flow. And they go back out and they come back in and they go back out and they come back in. It's for you, man, going back, hitting that 3-pointer. You know that it's landing right as it leaves, right?
I will say, he likes to remind me that we've played basketball many times since then. He likes to remind me that was the best game of basketball I've ever played to this day. And I've yet to, and I said, hey, bro, I don't care. It got me into the industry. Those were the points that I needed to make.
Right. But you were absolutely, so you attracted that, right? You attracted those people and those circumstances to make it happen. And that's why I'm such a big, the more I'm on this planet, the more I realize that it's surrendering.
Yeah.
Right. It's that dance, right? Surrender with the focus and the clarity. And when you can do that, right, everything starts to fall into place. So
I love that. Because I think, you know, for me, and I'm very open about it. Part of my story is I'm a substance abuse guy, right? Like been sober for over a decade now.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks, man. And for me, that surrender thing, right? It's so big in a lot of 12-step program. It's such a key in the beginning. And I really fought it. Like everything in me was like, be tough. I don't surrender, never back down. Blah, blah. You know, like I watched every single wrestling, video or, any, military movies, never back down. And that was something where I started to learn like, you don't have to muscle your way through life. Muscle yourself through the stuff you want to, but you don't have to muscle yourself through everything, and once I kind of started letting, like, I love to work hard, man. And I know you do too. Most of your people that are listening, we love to work, man. We love it. Like, we love to work, and there's nothing wrong with that. Right.
Yeah.
But there is that time where it's like, I have to reset, recharge, and also make sure that I'm not trying to overwork it. I got to let, I can't get 37-inch biceps in a weekend, man. Like, it's part of the process. And I think, that's one thing that I always, I do a lot of comparisons when I do speaking with kids, because obviously being in TV, being in entertainment, I do a lot of comparisons with, characters in movies versus, what you have in real life. You might have take Forrest Gump, one of the greatest stories. People love that movie. Most people have seen it, right? It's a 2-hour plus movie that spans a decade of work, of things, packed into the most powerful 2 hours. Even if you had a movie that was only based on one day, that's taking 24 hours and condensing it into 2. If you think of those characters, not as characters, but as real people existing, there's a lot of downtime, man. There's a lot of downtime. It's not all just super awesome events and this thing and highs. And I think that's where we get so trapped, is we see what someone has accomplished and we look at their last 5 years and we want to condense it into a five minute or a 30-second Instagram post. And we want to condense all the hard work and all the trials and the troubles and the frustration and the times you didn't believe and the times it was great. And then we look at our own situation and we feel like, oh man, like I'm not doing enough. I haven't achieved enough. It takes time. And that's something that, like, you know, here I am, right? I've been a coach for a couple of years. I've been in the entertainment industry. I got some, like, you know, awards behind me that I can, like, hang my hat on, whatever. But, like, the truth is, I have to constantly remind myself of that, you know? And also I have to remind myself, like, thank God you don't have it all yet. Because I would drive myself miserable if I had everything I thought I ever wanted, right? Like if I was just checking the box, what are you going to do now? You go sit on a beach? How long is that going to be fun? When you're a worker, man, like, you got to love the process.
It 1000%. And, you know, I was just talking about this on the last episode that I did is the difference between Instagram, right? We hear it all the time, grind, hustle, but really inspired action is that flame that never goes out, right?
Yeah.
It's and that has to be identified by your own level of awareness, right? Who you are, what makes you tick. So when I hear people that want to just work from home and be in their home office and not go out much and do their thing, that's heaven for them. For me, I want to be out. I got to be out. I got to be moving. I'm that adrenaline guy, man. I gotta keep growing, man. I learned through marriage counseling, man. I have motion therapy, man. Motion therapy. I gotta move. That's why the gym is so important for me. I could be in my truck driving and the greatest ideas come to me, right? It's that flow. So I love that, man. So what are some of the things that you learned once you realized, you know, going through the 12-step process that you apply to life? Because it is life 101. I'm very familiar with it, with a lot of friends and people that I know.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. I think, it was funny. I always had a lot of respect for what 12-step did for me with alcohol issues. But it wasn't until I started diving outside of the program and I started reading a lot of stoicism and philosophy and grief counseling that I was like, oh, whoa, they really set this thing up big. They weren't just talking about alcohol and drugs, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff in here that's just good life stuff. You know, we often joke, man, I just wish they had like 12-step for everybody. Like, everyone should just jump into 12-step because it's helpful. There's a lot of stuff to it that's beneficial, right? And you know, there were a handful of, to boil it down, I'll jump back to the very beginning. So the quick version, right? I started drinking when I was 11, hanging out with the older kids, got into a little bit of trouble. Mom got cancer when I was in high school, passes away, you know, pour some fuel on the fire. And, you know, by the time I was 22, I'd been arrested for four times, alcohol related stuff, crashing cars, getting into fights, all different types of stuff. Get court ordered, finally get into AA. And for me, everything had always been about, you got to earn your respect. You got to earn love. You got to show everyone that you earn a place at the table. There's a movie we always used to joke with a big football player named Latimer. It was a movie, what was the Program? And there's this big dude, Latimer, he's like banging his head through windows and place at the table, place at the table.
Andy Byron Nelson.
Yeah, dude, amazing. Place at the table, love it.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey. He used to train at the same gym.
It's amazing. So yeah, dude, I used to love that, right? So there was a part of me that felt like everything needed to be earned. And when I got into the program, I'm 22 years old. I get in, and like, I always joke that, like, I respected my elders. Like, my mother was involved in the school board. My father was a retired police chief. I learned from them to respect elders, and I respected elders, but like enough to where I wouldn't push you down the stairs, but I didn't really think you had anything for me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when I got into the program, I started meeting 45, 55, 65, 75-year-old people that were sharing about the emotions that I was going through. That was when I was like, wait a minute, how do you feel that way? How are we connected in that way? And I started to see people less as all the different labels that we wanted to put on, and actually just seeing people as individuals, not seeing the old guy, not seeing the young guy, not seeing the black guy, not seeing the woman, like just seeing who is this person currently in front of me, and what is the state of their heart. Yep. And I used to, and I think for me, people, it's so amazing of the program. Like, they gave me love and acceptance without me having to do anything for it. And it wasn't because of anything that I did. It was because of who they were, because they had made a decision that they were going to love and care for people because it was what they knew they needed to do for them to have a successful life. And when I started seeing that, it was the first time, other than family members, where I really felt like I got a taste of that unconditional love. Yeah. And when you get that, when you feel that from strangers, like, and then you realize you can give it. Yep. You can give it just as easy. You can just make it, you make a choice. You know what I'm saying? You make a choice to, society wants to point all of our differences out. Our brain, even to a certain extent at times, wants to find, like, we want to, like, hey, this is different. Is it okay? Am I safe? Is the lion going to eat my face off? Right? I need to know, put it in a category, safe or not. But then we have the ability to then break it down and say, wait a minute, what do I really, like, who is this person? What are they about? How can I connect with them? What do we have in, that was one of the great things I learned early on, was learn to relate, not compare. Because I was 22 years old, man. There were not a lot of other young kids getting sober. I could have very easily compared myself away from the program. I ain't like that. Oh, I've never had a kid. I don't have a kid that hates me. I never lost a wife. That never happened to me. But when I started to relate to people and relate to the emotions that they were going through, and relate with the 37-year-old, woman who was going, who had gone through an abortion and was hearing her story, or I could relate with the black guy as he's telling his stories of what his experiences were, and I can relate. It completely was a whole shift, and it set me on a path. In a lot of ways, man, like, to be a great coach, to be a great TV producer, right? Like, understanding, there's no greater skill than understanding humans. You can understand all the other stuff, business. You can know the ins and outs and how to set up your tax forms and all. You can do all these things, right? And you can set up your funnel, right? You can set the funnel up so that the funnel's moving, and you got passive income, right? I'm just throwing out all the buzzwords, but the truth is, man, if you can understand psychology and real human interaction and human connection, you're ahead of the game in almost no matter what industry you choose to go into. Understanding humans and being able to be empathetic and connect with people, man, that's where it's at.
And that's such a powerful message in today's world, right? That we're living in this such a techie world, right? Such a text world, such a if you allow it, non-connection world. It's interesting, right? We're so connected but so disconnected. It's so interesting how that is. It's like going both ways at the same time. So I love that you went there, and what you just described to me is pure courage and pure power. And here's what I mean by that. I wrote a book called Fearless is Bullshit, right? And I grew up and I was told that if you feel fear, there must be something wrong, right? And I realized as I got older that was wrong. Right? Mm-hmm. It's about identifying the fear, breaking through that fear to get to that courageous part of you on the other side. And fear is a feeling just like love, just like being happy, just like being angry. It's a feeling. And what are you going to do with that? Is it going to be your heaviest anchor or your strongest propeller? Right? It's going to be up to you to decide that. So that evolution that you took through that created a powerful man, right? Not a weak little boy. And I want people to understand that.
I appreciate that, man. And I, it's funny because there's always this, I often talk about like interrogating yourself, interrogating your reality, and really kind of putting some of your thoughts and your ideas on trial.
Yeah.
And, there's this, if we all sit, right. And first, let me just say, like, anyone, thank you for having me on, but anyone that's still hanging out with us, dude, thank you so much for kicking it with us. Like, make sure you like and share this thing and send us emails. We love it, man. We love connecting with each other, but we want to connect with you as well. So we appreciate you guys out there listening. But, if you're to close your eyes and start thinking about some of the oldest things that you know to be true, not only did we start grabbing onto these things as young kids of what we think the world is and how it works and what's right and what's wrong and how should you behave as a man. And we're little kids, our brains are forming, and we're making these decisions that we then continue on to hang on to. And also, not only that, for every one or two lessons that you got from your father or a mother or an uncle or a teacher or a coach, you probably got taught 5 or 6 other things from people that were under the age of 18, right? As we're growing up, I thought the kids 3 years older than me had it all figured out. I thought they were dope. They knew what was going on. That 16-year-old's got life figured out, man. But you take those things that they said to us, which, like, there ain't a 16-year-old kid in the world right now I would take life advice from. Sorry. And, sorry to be an ageist, as a guy who wrote a book about ageism. But, like, we have to look at the things that we think that we know, that we believe, that we know to be true, that this is how this is supposed to be. Anytime we say the words like should, suppose, if only, we're in danger zones, man. Those are some dangerous things. We gotta always check those. But I think that's something that we need to do is, like, why are we holding on to things? Especially, why hold on to thought processes and stories that aren't serving us anymore, especially when we started developing them? I mean, that was the thing, we talk about what did I take away from recovery? Going through my life and being amazed at how many things happened to me at 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that I was carrying with me as a man in my mid to late 20s. And it was like, it's almost embarrassing and laughable now because I've gone through the process of kind of digging through that stuff and getting some healing from it. But, like, a lot of us that aren't, like, I wouldn't have got that if I wasn't forced into it because of the court system and because of having to go to this program, right? I'd still be a grown man running around believing these things about myself, believing that you needed to try to sleep with every girl in the world, or believing that you needed to make every single dollar in the world for anyone to like you, or you needed to earn any of this stuff and I would have still been that guy. And so it's like, we all have to just take that moment, look at the stuff we think we know, interrogate it, and if it works, then keep doing it, man. Keep doing it. But if it doesn't work, we all are powerful enough. Get rid of that stuff and get some freedom from it.
Yeah, throw it out, man. Take what works and throw out the rest. I love that, 100%. Man. It's just, that's life 101. Let's shift a little bit of gears here and talk about, your industry that you're in and the evolution that, so you've been in it for close to 10 years now, right?
Yep, a little over 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, so talk about the evolution, man, and that your industry has had to figure out how to evolve and adapt to stay relevant, right? Because, we're in the Netflix world, we're in the Hulu world versus what we were 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and you were still a student of that world, even if you weren't in it then. So share with us what your industry has had to, and what you've actually had to do to evolve and stay relevant.
I think, it's one of the things that I always try to do, man, is I try to shut up and listen as much as possible. Right. And I try to shut up and listen to guys that have been there because, there's a lot of things that are changing, but there's a lot in the same way we talk about, like, right, understanding humans is powerful, understanding what humans want to escape with, right? Yeah. How do they want to be entertained? What are they looking for? Just because a lot of people love 30-second videos online, and just because some guy might want to watch a video of a guy punching someone, or they want to watch a video of kids getting hurt on Instagram, doesn't mean that they don't also want a really good true crime premium doc on a Friday night. You know, like the content that I want at 4 p.m. on a Monday is probably different than the content I want on a Saturday afternoon with friends.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of times people get caught in this, like it's too, they put everything to an extreme. Nobody wants good content anymore. Everyone wants this dumb TikTok-y BS, blah, right? It's like, well, no way. They want that, and they still want other stuff. So we keep making things, and when people like it, listen. And when they don't like it, listen. Put things out, right? And I think for us in TV, right, like I remember always talking about wanting to be a part of a one great product. Bro, we pitch. I can look at my board right now of all the different shows that we're working on, that we're putting out, that we're creating and developing. There's tons of them. So it's like, you know, it's one of those things. I out here in LA, a lot of music people. And I've had music people that be like, hey man, I finally wrote my first song and I want to get it on a TV show. Can you help me? And I'm like, hey man, first off, congratulations on getting the first song done. I go, however, people that are getting songs placed on TV, they've got 1,000 songs. And they all match different moments in TV. It's not about getting that one. So there's a lot of times where we have to look at it, like, you got to produce a ton of stuff. You got to make a ton of stuff. Some of it's going to be trash. Some of it's going to be great. You know, one thing that really helped me, because, you know, I think we all have those moments where we're these like idealists where I only want to work on things that are, you know, going to help the environment, or I only want to work on good things. I don't want to work on any of that trashy stuff, you know? And what I had to start looking at was like, you know what? It's not about what I can take away. What is a show going to say about me that I worked on it? It's like, who am I to the show? How can I come into the cast, the crew, in whatever it is, whether it's a dating show that's a quick 30-minute show, whether it's something really intense and we're dealing with really sensitive murder cases, or if we're dealing with stuff that's tattoos or whatever the show is. It's not about me getting filled by the show and the end result. It's about me. Who am I being when I show up on set? How am I treating people? How am I getting the best out of people? How do I help them give the better performance that they wanted to give? And so it became less about the end result for me and much more about like, hey, how do I show up and be the best version? How do I make everyone's life better that's working on it? How do I keep in mind, right, when we talk about content, one of the most valuable things in life is time, man. We don't get it back. So when you think of it that way, that somebody is, even this podcast, man, that somebody would want to sit and listen to two guys have a conversation for almost an hour, right? Like they've gifted us with their time. And it's like, we should be good stewards of that. We should be appreciative of the people that are listening. And we should want to make sure that we're bringing our A game, that we're talking and we're being real and we're being authentic and we're doing our best that we can in that moment to make sure that we're giving a good experience for people. And whether that ends up being a 45-minute podcast, whether it ends up being some of my little motivational content that I do on my Instagram, or whether it's, you know, a new 12 series or 12 episode order series that that we just sold to Netflix or sold to Amazon, it's keeping that in mind of like, be respectful of the people that are going to be the end users of your product and make sure you do what's right by them so that you can, at the end of the day, look yourself in the mirror and know that you gave your best.
Love that, man. I love that because, yeah, it's our most valuable asset, right? It's time that we can't, no matter how rich, influential you are, you can't get that time back.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love that, man. I love that you went there. It
took a lot of angry nights to get there. It took a lot of like, oh God, I got to take this program. I got to work on this shit.
Well, you want to know something? That's the difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? Knowledge, unorganized information. Wisdom comes from the real world. And that's the only way to get that, is to experience that, is to actually do that, walk that path, fall down, get back up, figure it out, keep moving forward. Oh, that's what happened. Don't want to do that again. Oh, okay. Let me go here. So, the connection I feel is, I came out here in 2008, didn't know anybody. I'm in San Diego, didn't know anybody, didn't know what business I was going to get into, what business I was going to do or open up. And I love that you did the same thing, right? Let's just do it and figure it out. I jump off the cliff and figure out how to fly on the way down, right? That's my DNA. And sometimes I crash and burn, and sometimes I find my wings, right? And figure it out. But either way, it's still wisdom that I'm acquiring and keep putting in my my bank.
And I, one of the things that I had to do, and this is, another maybe takeaway for somebody that's listening, is like, highlight your successes. Like, there's a lot of times where I have the story that I'm a cop's kid and I'm a Johnny Rule follower and I'm a teacher's pet and I don't like to take risks. And I'm safe. I'm a Capricorn. We do things differently, right? Like I can get into that. And I remember like when the book was happening, and it was like, you're in that stage where you're all excited when you start writing it. And then all of a sudden it starts getting real, and then you realize you don't know how to launch it, and you don't know how to get a publisher, and you don't know how to do all this stuff, and you don't think anyone's going to read it. And then all that fear sets in. I had to put I put a poster on the wall that was a photo of the book, had the date that I had picked that it was coming out, and in big bold letters, it said, "I am a risk taker," because I needed to remember that. Like, me at 23, moving to LA with $3,000 in a gift card,
right,
has been able to, like, I've been able to be Emmy-nominated and work on some really cool projects and work with some great people. Like, none of that, I get none of that if I don't take the risk of going to LA. And I have to remind myself of that. And like, so often we want to look at our failures and we want to put our failures on mantles. And we want to put all those up, and we want to look at the time when we tried that and it didn't work out, or, oh, look at that when that girl said that thing and, oh, it sucked, and when we did this and we fell, or, whatever it ends up being. When it's like, no, man, like, take the stuff that we're proud of, take all the all the things that we championed, all the great things that we've accomplished, all the really cool stuff that made us feel great, put those things on pedestals, man. Like, raise those up. Look at the moments when you were like, dude, I'm jumping off this cliff, I'm going for it. Look at the moment when you're like, yo, I didn't know what I was doing with that job, but I got in, made it work, figured it out. And then now, now I'm VP of sales or whatever it is. It's like, it's so easy for us to put those negative things on mantles, and we need to put the positive stuff up there, because we got to be our own cheerleaders, man. We really do.
100%. It's about embracing that journey, right? It's who you became. It's who you are and who you are becoming. And one of the things that I always share with people, and it's so important, is when they start to beat themselves up and they start to become that victim, and victims never win, as we all know, right? Why me? Because it's not about you. You went through that, right? For that other person that's going through that, right? And you made it through the other end. So now it's your obligation to share that part of your journey that's going to help somebody else.
Dude,
I'm be real. Dude, I'm about to knuckle right up right here.
Yo, I'm gonna be real with you, bro. I needed to hear that today. Like, I'm gonna be real with you, man. I needed to hear that today, because I feel like it's real easy right now to not want to not want to touch people, not want to look at people, not want to talk to them.
Yep.
It's everyone's crazy right now. Everyone's doing this. I can't believe they think this. I can't believe they're doing that. Look at these people with this and this. Why are they wearing masks? Why aren't they wearing masks? Why are they, right? It's real easy to start that thing. And it's comparing people and finding the differences instead of bringing them in. And, bro, I needed to hear that today, man. If nothing else comes of this, if no one ever listens to this damn thing, bro, you saved me today. So thank you.
And it's never a mistake, right? It's never by accident. There's always that energy, right? That ebb and flow. And I always say this: you were bad enough to make it through. Now it's your obligation to share that, embrace that, own that. And now, and I have a really good friend who has he's 22 years force recon, did I don't know how many tours. And so he has a nonprofit that works with a lot of vets, right? And so they're struggling. They're figuring it out. Why me? How come this? How come that? And I always say, because you have to understand it's not about you, right? This journey that my 30,000 foot view, put up for adoption at birth. First 18 months of my life, and I'm in an orphanage in North Philly. Left back in the second grade, diagnosed with ADD, said I had a learning disorder, never graduated high school. At 19, I'm sitting in a jail cell looking at 8 to 10 if things don't go my way. That's just the first 19 years, right? And I went through that because now that's things that I can share with other people that I don't even know if I'm helping. I don't know if it's going to connect, but that's who I am. This is where I'm at, and this is what I've learned. Take what works and throw out the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that, man.
Oh, man. I love it, man. I love it. It's
love
good
it,
stuff,
brother.
man.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. Awesome stuff. So is there anything that I didn't talk about that you want to share with the audience, or anything that any golden nuggets you want to share, man?
Man, I think we covered a lot of good stuff in there, right? And I think a lot of times, I had to learn that early on when I started speaking. I wanted to pack it all in, man. I wanted to pack it all in. I wanted to save everyone in the room with every piece of information. I wanted every single piece of the information I took out of those books and jam it in your brain. And then, you know what? You learn after 4 bullet points, man, the eyes glaze over and we don't even hear words anymore. And so there's a lot of times where I kind of look at it like the truth is, if you're still listening to this, something grabbed you already.
Yep.
And rather than me give you some new piece of information, take a moment right now and think about what stood out and write it on a piece of paper, write it on a Post-it note, write it somewhere that it can be visible on what the thought was and how it made you feel and what you think and what action it wants to drive you to do now and what change you want. And put it somewhere where you can see it, because a lot of us, we listen to podcasts and it's in one ear, it's out the other. It was fun for the drive and it was just to kill time, But if we really want to be intentional about making changes, write down whatever the thing was that stood out, that either I or Dave said, write it down and keep it around, keep it present, put it on, I got a coaching client of mine who was joking with me the other day because where my desk sits, we always are on Zoom, and where he sees it, he can see I've got a cork board, and he's a technology guy. He's like, "Oh, bro, what do you got a cork board for? You gotta get rid of that stuff. Put it all digital." He's like a tech guy, and I'm like, "Nah, man. There's something about pen to paper. There's something about physically holding words in your hand and them being real, and not being just digital footprints, So I would say that would be my biggest takeaway. Put it on paper and put it somewhere where you'll see it, and then have the courage to act on it.
Love it. Love it, man.
Yeah.
That's
share the damn podcast. No.
Yeah. It's the truth, man. If you're getting something from it, you're getting gold nuggets, then it's your obligation, right? To share that either in your own flavor or share the show itself. Absolutely 100%. Where can everyone find you? So, phillipandrew.co. I always joke I couldn't afford the M. That M gets real expensive, bro. Who are these guys with this money for this M? It's over.
Yeah, so it's like, so you guys can hit me up. phillipandrew.co is the website. The easiest, at Phillip Andrew LA on pretty much all the social media stuff, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Shoot me a message, man. Honestly, if you feel compelled to reach out, whether it's about recovery, about TV, about whatever it ends up being, feel free to hit me up. I always love, talking with people and hearing their stories and seeing, and that's how things work. You never know, the one thing I will say that I love about like David Meltzer. Yeah. My man does every podcast, all of them, like all of them, like that dude. And he's got a great story, but like the dude's, you talk about valuable time, but he values connecting with people. Yeah. And he has the whole, whatever it is, the 80-20 rule or whatever his thing is, or but like connect with people, send the damn email, send the message. You never know what type of synergy people can come up and create. And it might not be today. We might end up working on a project in 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. But we plant the seeds today.
I love it, man. I love that. Yeah, Dave Meltzer. God, I think I've met, man, we've known each other since what? 2015, maybe, something like that. Yeah. 16, yeah. Great guy. Guys, listen, any golden nuggets you're going to get from this, share it, get it out there, give us your thoughts. We will upload this on our YouTube channel. Feel free to share the YouTube channel. We will break this down into golden nuggets for our social media platforms. So please get it out there. I always put it out there all the time, man. If you know anybody who could be a great guest, connect us, right? We want to keep bringing that message out there. And as always, we do it one way around here, baby, and that's Monster Motivator style.